In the 100+ years since the car came into popular usage, only a relative few cars have actually acquired legendary status. Rolls-Royce comes to mind immediately, of course. Interestingly, two cars which are legends have become so since the Second World War, that is in the past 50 years, and both of those cars are 50 years old this year. One is Ferrari, the other is Porsche. The first Porsche rolled out of a small factory in Stuttgart in Germany on June the 8th, 1948. It was the creation of Dr. Ferdinand Porsche, also known as Ferry, and it was designated the 356 after the set of planned drawings which were responsible for its creation. This is one of those 356 models. Well, almost. The real prototype was deemed not quite suitable as a commercial proposition, but the 356A which followed it certainly was. This car was built on a pressed steel floor pan and fitted with a derivative of the Volkswagen four-cylinder horizontally opposed air-cooled engine which had been designed by Ferry's father, who was also responsible for the great Auto Union racing cars of the late 1930s. The 356 series of Porsches brought the marque into prominence, but it was the replacement model which created the legend. The 356 Porsche endured well beyond the first decade, in fact, but during the second decade, in the middle 60s, Porsche decided that it was time for a new car, and Ferry Porsche designed what became known as the 911. Now, the 911 is what today is representative of all Porsche cars, the most enduring design in sports cars ever. And it was built originally with a new engine as well, a 2-litre horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engine. But this new car was a bit too expensive for most Porsche owners, and an interim model was built a little later using the remainders of the 356 4-cylinder engines. It was called the 912, and this is a 912. The 911 has recreated itself so many times, in so many configurations, it can become confusing. This version is also known as the 930. This is a 1970s version of the car which used a super powerful turbo engine, and Porsche were the first to introduce turbochargers into their production models. The engines, all 6 cylinders, went through from 3 litres to 3.6 litres, and the power from a modest 260 horsepower to an awesome 450 horsepower. Porsche introduced their first front-engine cars in 1974 as a result of a joint venture with Audi. It was called the 924, and the engine was a 2-litre 4-cylinder version which came from the Audi factory. The 924 was soon followed by the 928 with a powerful V8 engine, and then finally by the largest selling front-engine Porsche of all. This is a 944 Porsche of the 1980s. With a 3-litre 4-cylinder engine, it had the largest 4-cylinder engine in production at the time, and it was a true high-performance car, and certainly, in every sense, a true Porsche. Although for a while, the front-engine Porsches did meet with some resistance from the traditional 911 owners who believed that Porsches had to have the engine in the back. The front-engine cars were discontinued in 1996 with the 928 GTS, when Porsche underwent a model rationalisation program, which, not surprisingly, told them that the rear-engined 911 derivatives were their bread and butter. Which brings us to the 5th decade of Porsche and the 911 Cabriolet. It's still designated 911, but now there have been some radical changes made. Some of the glass area and some panels have been changed in the new 911 for the first time since the 1960s. For me, this new car might be just a little too refined. Porsches have always been luxury cars, of course, but there's also been a sort of rawness and excitement about them. I think the present 911 is almost too nice. But with Tiptronic fingertip gear shift and the smooth power of the 6-cylinder engine, which is now water-cooled, it is a very pleasant highway tourer and very much a thing of beauty. One would be hard-pressed to find a better car in terms of engineering expertise and build quality. Significantly, it follows very much in the footsteps of its legendary forebears.